Hello, everyone. I'm Anish Shah, Research Director here at Chartis, leading the research in the entire financial risk management space. And I'm really pleased to be joined today by Chris Puype, CEO of ElysianNxt. Chris, it's great to have you with us. We will be deep diving into your perspectives on the credit risk management space, an area that really sits at the heart of the financial risk management world for the CROs globally. To start off with, Elysian Next has been recognized as a category leader in the Chartis' credit risk management and portfolio management reports recently for its innovation and deep subject matter expertise. What would you describe as your secret sauce here that differentiates your platform from your competitors?
It's a great question, Anish. I can assure you there's no black magic that we've been using. But in the ElysianNxt team, there's a lot of gray hair or no hair. So we have a lot of experience, also based on my first company, which was Financial Architects, same space, also a software platform. So basically, before we wrote any code, we sat together and we said, okay, what are the lessons learned from having done it for like 15, 20 years in this industry? What can we do better? What are pitfalls to avoid? So we kind of had our 6 commandments to start off with. Some of them are like, okay, we want to be the fastest solution on the planet. We want to have a different user experience. Also very important, and that's sometimes quite misunderstood, is to have a different way of implementing the product. Well, previously, in my first company, we had an excellent rules engine. So a lot of time was spent by consultants on site to develop exactly what the customer wants. But of course, it's on-site development, so it's basically not supported by the vendor if you have like any performance issues, and makes also any upgrades to later version of the product very hard because of the footprint that you have on the site. So one thing that we've done very consciously at ElysianNxt was to say we strive to have almost a zero footprint. So everything that we do is enriching the product and will be developed in our development center and enriches the product as such. And we've kept that kind of promise, that kind of focus, which kind of results that after 8 years, the product is extremely rich in terms of features, but thanks to the user friendliness and the performance, our main goal is not to be regulatory compliant, but also to use the product for basically your internal credit risk management purposes. And that's something that we are very proud of. For us, we have very small clients, we have big clients. It doesn't matter. So the solution is very scalable and can be deployed in various options, SaaS or on-premise, whatever the client decides, it's the same version of the product. So no secret sauce there. It's just holding very tight to core principles, having an experienced team, and stay focused along the route.
Perfect. That takes me to my next question. I think it's you implemented credit risk management, portfolio management solutions across diverse markets. From your experience, what are the key differences when implementing such solutions in the APAC market against the European institutions? I think any insights that would be helpful for our viewers.
I would less see it as what is different in terms of geographical areas. I would more look at it from a regulatory perspective. Even in the Asia region, like Indonesian regulator APRA is one of the leaders when it comes to trying to get their banks following the latest trends in terms of risk calculations. Australia has traditionally been the number one in saying, okay, the strictest regulator on the planet, and striving for their banking community to always be the first one to implement the latest kind of risk calculations. Europe being closely the second. But if you look to US, for example, it's also one of the reasons why we don't have US presence, is that even though that the latest crises happen to be in the US, I mean, the regulator, and certainly under the Trump administration, has been very reluctant to follow what I would call proper or the basic risk management for banks. The latest examples, like Silicon Valley Bank, was like, okay, this is actually the basic that you have to do as a bank to measure your risk, and could be easily avoided if the bank would do what I would call the basic stuff. So it's really related to almost a political situation, how the regulator in a certain country follows this, and if I look at it, if they follow that regulation, and it's pretty much the same as the other countries.
Yeah, very true. And that leads to my final question to you, Chris. Looking ahead, where do you see the credit risk management market evolving in the coming 2 to 3 years of time, particularly with the rise of AI? We're moving towards the real-time risk analytics and the convergence you highlighted of regulatory and business reporting together. So what's your view on that?
Until now, all the risk calculations, credit risk calculations, have mainly been done on what we would call T0, so the numbers as they are now. What we've seen in the latest direction that banks are taking is also driven by everything that's going on under the climate risk umbrella, in terms of physical risk, conditional risk. That is more and more going to be forward-looking, so that you make forecasts to say, how are these numbers? How are my portfolios in the bank? Where do I invest? Where do I divest? And how will that lead to my provisions? How will that lead to my capital usage? Also, the first 3 years, banks have a pretty good idea what they will be doing in terms of business plans, and they will apply the same kind of forecast in what they're going to report to the regulators. And of course, when you talk about forecasting numbers, it's very processing intensive. So us as a solution provider, we also invested in what we called serverless, meaning that you have the full capacity of the cloud to your disposal on the moment you need it. So you can use all that power at the most attractive price for an institution. And maybe also another point that we see and is basically the kind of information, the kind of details that the regulators are asking from the institutions. So think about initiatives like IREF to say, okay, the regulator is moving away, and thank God for that, is moving away from template-based, old-fashioned kind of reporting to say, look, give us all the lowest granular level of data, and we will check it from the bottom upwards. And that's great, and that, I think, will lead to bringing down the cost of doing compliance reporting significantly. If you can move away from that 20, 30 years old processes of, aggregating the data, submitting the reports to say, okay, this is my data, I have the data under control, I follow the BCBS 239, I can seamlessly explaining from the business data all the way to a report, and here it is. I mean, that's the dream come true, and that will significantly bring the cost down. But I hope that they will sooner or later say, okay, we don't need those traditional templates reports anymore because we got all the data.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris, for joining us today and providing your valuable insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anish. Appreciate it.